Welcome to Coming Home, Survive and Thrive in Homeschooling. A New Homeschooling Mum, Part 3. Over the next 3 months, there will be interviews and reflections on homeschooling with an English perspective. We are currently in England, and I'm going to make the most of the opportunities I find. This week, we return to the world of Amanda, our lovely new homeschooling mum. She's doing well, with confidence growing and new questions to ask. We talked about making friends, deschooling, finding joy instead of overwhelm, which is closely connected to deschooling, creating strong habits for Read Aloud times, and a big aha moment as Amanda continues to formulate her mission statement for their homeschooling. Firstly, making friends. Settling into a community and making friends is important. You need companionship as well as your children. There's something relaxing in the atmosphere of being with folk who share your philosophy, even if it isn't the same as yours. It's reassuring to know you don't have to explain yourself, as you find happens outside of homeschooling circles too often. It is within this group you will find trusted allies, and in time you will have a handful of ladies you will trust with your concerns without being judged. A place to feel safe is reassuring and refreshing. Just being together for a little while will bring a sense of rejuvenation, often bringing the boost you need. When you gather for sport or playtime or another activity, it often gives you a break from the children. It's good for you both to be in the company of others. She is making friends and having a good time, fulfilling that crucial aspect so many are concerned about, socializing. Answering a concerned question of what were you doing today, a checking up on you question, just say socializing. No other explanation will be necessary. You can be in the company of other mums and still keep a watchful eye on your children. It's amazing what you can see on the other side of a sports field. And your child needs to know they have a measure of independence, but mum isn't too far away if needed, especially when she's young. For an introvert, getting out and about with other homeschoolers may be challenging some days, but getting a happy medium is important. There's time when you come home for both of you to refresh in solitude. Number 2. Deschooling. What is it and how to do it? Firstly, I need to point out deschooling and unschooling are two different things. Unschooling is known as a method of homeschooling, mostly to do with a very relaxed approach to homeschooling, highly child-led, and it works for a lot of people. Deschooling, on the other hand, is like an undoing of what is part of our habits of what we have known school to be, which are no longer appropriate or necessary for a homeschooling situation. Identify which part of deschooling you want to work on first. Tackling all the traditional school approaches and habits will quickly become overwhelming. Keeping the goal of deschooling in front of you, no matter what success or failure you're having, will keep you focused even if it is a bad day and you revert to your ingrained muscle memory. Remember, you are building new pathways in your mind. How we experienced our school days is all we know. Therefore, we assume that is the way to replicate in our homes. Think of it in the aforementioned terms of muscle memory. Changing this takes committing to a new way of thinking about and doing school, and it takes time to learn something new. Recall a new skill you learned. For what seems a long time, it's hard and awkward and oh so easy to either give up or go back to an inefficient or inferior way, when just perseverance and practice will bring confidence and a new skill or approach feeling natural. For example, I am an accomplished knitter, and sometimes I teach beginners. The incorrect and awkward way a new knitter clutches her needles and wrestles with the wool as she tries to make her first few stitches, inevitably resulting in stitches falling off. It's too tight, too loose, more stitches than you started with, or an interesting shape rather than a simple square. It would be so easy to give up before giving it a fair amount of time to learn how to knit. Once the basics are learned, time is needed to practice learning the correct tension, and many hours are spent developing a relaxed rhythm and the ability to read your knitting, seeing and correcting mistakes, and you haven't even got past garter stitch and a square that looks like a square. There's more, so much more. Put that analogy, or any craft or musical instrument you have learned, and apply it to de-schooling. Now you will not feel alarmed when reverting to traditional school methodology, or wondering when a more relaxed approach will begin to feel normal. It's okay for a child to sit or lie on the couch to read. She doesn't need to sit still at a desk or a table. Desks, school bells, and a strict start and stop time are to bring order to an otherwise chaotic classroom. And there's often chaos with the order. That's some of why you homeschool. A calm, relaxed, bespoke atmosphere for you and your child. That's the goal anyway. I do think a timetable is useful, but it's your guide, not a taskmaster. How will you know when you've de-schooled enough? When you're not thinking about how you should be doing school at home, or worrying about whether she should be sitting at the table or not, or whether she's done all her sums on her sheet, even though she knows the concept. When you're not creating busy work simply to fill in time so you feel better. When you are comfortable with masterly inactivity and understand and encourage a child's play is her work. By busy work, I mean, if you finish a book or an activity, there's no need to add something else just because she finished early. That's discouraging and will remove the motivation to work quickly and well to complete a task, giving her more time for play or her reading. This is a great life skill to impart, prompt, efficient, and a job well done, along with the huge positive of being able to work independently without supervision. Each homeschooling home does their bookwork in a slightly different way. There is no right way to homeschool. Some families prefer a schoolroom with desks. Whatever makes a relaxed mother and a contented child is a good indicator. What works now may not next year. Homeschooling brings the privilege of not only creating what you learn, but how. 3. Finding joy versus overwhelm. This is related to de-schooling. Use the flexibility of what we call teacher-only days when needed. When you need a break or slow down, do it. You won't get behind. It all comes out in the wash. What you submitted to the Ministry of Education doesn't need to be how you carry on, especially as the reality of homeschooling settles in and you find your plans in theory don't cross over to practicality as you assumed. You demonstrated your ability to homeschool your child, not signing a contract to homeschool in each detail you wrote about in your exemption application. An assessor told me once that the ERO, that's the Education Review Office, would be concerned if they found you doing the same as you wrote, as they expect you to make adjustments as needs arise. That's part of what you showed them you could do. Assess what the needs are of your child and pivot as necessary. It's good to hear, Amanda, that concentrating on the 3 R's has brought a measure of peace to your homeschooling day. And do remember, an average school day's teaching time is 1.5 hours, and you can do so much better than that. Closely related to deschooling is masterly inactivity, and a child's play is his work. Although you can find these ideas in earlier podcasts, I will deal with these next time, as I'd like to use Amanda's situation as I talk about them. Number 4, structuring the Read Aloud time. It's an important part of the morning and not something she can pick and choose whether she comes to listen or not. You make it clear you will be reading, so whatever activity she is doing finishes and she comes to listen. She may like to draw quietly or do another activity that doesn't involve reading, or she may prefer to sit on your knee. I would say no more than 20 to 30 minutes. You can finish at the end of a chapter if it's close enough to the time, or just pop a bookmark in where you're up to. She will pick up the story thread easily enough tomorrow. Your toddler needs to learn to play by himself during this time. If that's not feasible at this time in your life, leave the read aloud time for when he's napping. If he can manage the former, a special box is super helpful. A special box is a box about the size of a shoebox, which is just for him. It comes out when you are reading aloud to your other child and you need him to be by himself playing quietly. What is in the box is special, hence the name. You might have specific educational games and activities in it, and they are of interest to him. He really wants this box, but he can only have this box during these read aloud times. The box is only for him. No other child or visitor gets to have this box, which emphasizes the specialness and desirability of it for your little boy. And be sure to give him some time before you require him to play quietly. Fill up his little emotional bucket first. A playpen might help if you need him to be in a certain area. We've talked about this in the previous episode, so I won't repeat it here. And number 5, you talked about wanting your children to get outdoors and really enjoy life. The phrase you used was not wanting them to be stuck in the rat race, and it is one of the main reasons you are homeschooling. To have a clear objective like that is huge. I can't tell you how much you made me smile when you told me that. With an intent like that, many of your choices for how you live every day, normal life, or what books you choose, or whether you go to the beach today because there was a storm and it will be interesting on the beach, will all be made according to that long-term goal. A goal like that shapes decisions, not the other way around. I suggest you write this down with clarity and precision. This will form part of your why, or your mission statement for raising your family. There will be other phrases, no doubt, to add to this. Make it as concise as possible and let it guide your decisions over your homeschooling years. It will make choices easier simply by measuring them against your intent. That's quite a few responses to what's going on in Amanda's early days of homeschooling, so I'll leave it there for today. I'll be back next time with more reflections on a new homeschooling mum's life. There will be more interviews coming up too. And please do like, share and subscribe to this podcast. Let's get this content out to families who could really do with it. Bye-bye for now.